Well, welcome back, everybody. Dan John here from danjohnuniversity.com. Welcome to our podcast. It's podcast number 90, which is hard to believe it's gone by that fast. If you want to see them all, remember, they're all at danjohnuniversity.com. And for some of you who are interested, we're also on Patreon at Coach Dan John. Welcome aboard and let's begin. So we have a question from Jesse, and this one is, well, I would say it's pretty much medical intervention, but there's some points here that I think are worthy of all of us to listen to. My father is 69 years old, doesn't have great knees, and recently fell and fractured his pelvis. No lifting history. And this is just a good reminder to all of us about the importance of groundwork, the importance of learning to fall, the importance of, I tell you, when I train people, I love them to get up and down the ground as much as they can. That's why we do the original strength moves between just about every set of everything. Get up and down, get up and down. He has been told the tendons and ligaments in the area have stretched, and once it heals, to begin strengthening the area to tighten the tendons and ligaments up, which is really interesting. The word that he has stretched out tendons and ligaments, that is, that's an interesting thing to hear. We know that one of the problems with certain things some of my lifter friends do is that they build the muscle mass up, but the tendons and ligaments don't improve as quickly. We're actually hearing that this maybe is true. What would you suggest once he's cleared the lift a bit for overall strength as he ages, knowing his knees aren't great and squatting is tough and his recent pelvis fracture? I have a full Olympic home gym he can use, kettlebells, dumbbells, tires, etc. Well, Jesse, good for you, and thanks for being there for your dad. The truth is, I would prefer he go to a normal gym with machines for a while. Again, this is what I prefer. I'm not saying you need to do it. As I think if he can just get on things like the leg press, the leg curl, the leg extension, I know none of these are perfect. Upper body push, upper body pull, both horizontal and vertical, just for the safety and the stability that you get from machines. Now, they're certainly not optimal. Now, if you don't want to do that, and you do have things like, if you can get them, if you can teach them to do a variation of like the goblet squat, perhaps at first just suspension trainer squats. You get in that water ski position and go up and down. But really, your job is to teach movement, which will be interesting, father, learning from son. But basically, if you can, I'd love to see you go and teach him the squat movement, the hinge movement, anything that gets him up and down off the ground. That's why I'd recommend my good friend Tim Anderson's original strength work. At 69, and pretty soon it'll be 70, we are behind. We're a little bit behind with the help from normal things like puberty and the 20s, but anything you can do that will do push, pull, hinge, squat, and maybe loaded carry and groundwork is going to be what you want to do. Thanks for sharing your story. That's really all I can tell you. I would love to see you get on some machines too, if possible. Thank you, Jesse. That's a good question. We have a question from Gavin. I have been looking for a way to program a 6-day weightlifting program. I find that the lifting puts me in a better frame of mind to show up for my family and work day. I am 37, average build. I have 3 children. I train in the morning before work. I work in a salon, so I can rarely lift more than a pair of scissors throughout the day. That's kind of funny, Gavin. Thank you. As far as goals go, I'll take what I can at this age. Bit of weight loss, bit of muscle be nice. Yeah, you're 37. That couldn't easily happen. I always seem to do too much as I feel a brain fog around the 4th day of the movement. Can this be done? Yeah, absolutely, Gavin. In fact, you are literally asking the question about the workout generator at danjohnuniversity.com. This is what it's designed to do. If I were you, I would keep my workouts at about half an hour because you're going 6 days a week. But you'll find that you're going to get a lot of interesting variations if you do that. I would go in, do the free 2 weeks, play around with the generator a little bit. I would love to see you have 1 or 2 workouts a week with no load at all, body weight focus, mobility focus, 2 to 3 plus sessions a week of, good old fashioned weight training because you said you want to build muscle. And on the other day, you'll just have to see what the generator comes up. But anything that I'm thinking back on some of those old programs I used to look back in the day where 3 days a week were mobility and flexibility, and 3 days a week were strength and conditioning. And when you look at those, this is from the 1960s, and you look at the progress those guys and girls would make, and it was pretty impressive. So here you go, Gavin. Ready? Go to the workout generator. Look at that. Put in the equipment you have. Go 6 days a week. Go half an hour and see what it comes up with. But it's going to be push, pull, hinge, squat, load, carry. It's going to be mobility work. It's going to be some flexibility work. And it's going to be your task to show up and take care of business. And I admire you. With 3 kids and you want to make things better, I think we can work with each other on this. Thank you. We have a question from Jim. I have been reading about the importance of having a mentor. And as you know, the word mentor is a person's name, and I always argue that mentor should be capitalized. Mentor was Telemachus's teacher. And of course, there was some divine intervention there in the book, The Odyssey, great book. But mentor is forever remembered as being just a great teacher and helper. I know you have talked about this yourself. Yeah. And I've been very fortunate. My book, 40 Years with the Whistle, basically talks about them. My trouble is I don't have contact with anyone that I would consider a good mentor at this time. When I think of what I want a mentor to be like, when I think what I want a mentor to be like, I think of you. Sincere, not flattery. Well, that's pretty high flattery, and I hope that's true. Thank you very much. And I know that is impractical, if not impossible. I have had a couple of good mentors in my life. Unfortunately, they both passed away within a short time of each other about 11 years ago. That is tough. Do you think there is a benefit in having an imaginary mentor? Yes. Or in other words, acting according to what I think my past mentors would do, or what I think you would advise, since I respect your example. Yeah, in fact, FDR did this, and so did John F. Kennedy. I want to say it's Dale Carnegie's book, but it's this idea of having imaginary mentors. When you come up with a decision, what would Abraham Lincoln do? And Abraham Lincoln had this unique ability to listen to both sides of the aisle, which doesn't even seem possible as I'm speaking this out loud. And he would bring in rivals, literally opposite people who disagree with him, and make sure he listened carefully to their points and counterpoints. Sometimes people just disagree because that's what you do. And you see that with the political divide in the United States right now, which is, the exact opposite of what a good education should do for you. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's one of the success books. I know Napoleon Hill, the great thinker and writer, he's the one who came up with the phrase, "There's nothing to fear but fear itself." This was a common thing back with the early personal development courses. I don't know what your faith tradition is, but if you could pull in someone like, if you had Abraham Lincoln and Jesus of Nazareth and Merlin, ask those 3 what you should do about a problem and think about what their answers would be. You might get some of the best advice you'll ever get in your life. Of course, I'm very fortunate, and I'm in the same place with you. The bulk of my mentors are no longer with me, and Dick Notmeyer is going to turn 90 this fall. So, I'm not, ideally he'll live a lot longer, but we have to be honest at the same time about, the calendar. I'm lucky I can call up Dick Notmeyer. I can see some of my former friends and coaches, and we can talk about some of these things. And I still have Dave Turner, my weightlifting coach, and I can brush things back. He's watched me. This year is our 42nd annual state meet, and Dave helped me at the first one where I won best lifter. This is the 42nd one. We've known each other a long time. He knows how I move. So yeah, I do think you can do this. Imaginary mentor is actually a really good idea. I'm more than happy to help as appropriate, and I hope you continue to look into this. One thing I know it's true from the martial arts tradition, but I found it in my own life. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I've discovered that several times in my life. It just really does happen. When you finally cleaned out your head enough, all of a sudden things turn around for you. Jim, this is a very good question, and I appreciate it, and I hope I was helpful at some level. And I'm actually gonna think more about this as soon as I'm done with today's podcast, because I really do find what you said here interesting. I think I'm in a place again in my life that I need to kick around a few things with somebody. Not just in a therapy setting, not just in a ministerial setting, but just someone I can just say, help me out a little bit here. Thank you. Good question, Jim. I appreciate it. We have a question from Daniel. Well, Daniel, great name. And then you ask this question. With the Olympic lifts, you recommend the heels only technique as seen with your Utah Workshop DVD series, which has been my blueprint for the Olympic lifts. Why is that? Well, Daniel, I was told by a guy who worked with the Bulgarian national team, and he said that the most important thing you do as an Olympic lifter is drive with your heels. When you drive with your heels, the load takes you flat. When you drive, if you decide to be flat, the load takes you on the toes. And if you're on your toes, forget getting that load overhead. You're going to be doing a wind sprint trying to get it back over your head. So when the Bulgarians say something about weightlifting, I always listen pretty intensely. And then I found out that this is a technique that's been around a long time here in the United States. A very famous weightlifter sat Dave Turner down one time and said, yeah, this is how we did it. I don't know why anyone made it more complicated. And I think, so once again, as happened before, the Bulgarians, by the way, got their idea of this one lift a day thing from American lifters. The Bulgarians got this idea going to max every day from American lifters. And then I find out that Bulgarians got this idea of heels only from Americans. And once again, I think to myself, why, when we're doing something right, do we have to go pursue something else? Other respected coaches, and he's got examples here, do stress that the balance point should be on the middle foot and are arguing that with the heels only technique will create either forward or backward motions and imbalances. Therefore, yeah, I don't think that's true. I think when you're, and one of the things too, and this is going to come off a little full of myself, Daniel, but I've cleaned 400, I've snatched over 300. I'm one of the, I feel like when I coach the Olympic lifts, I sort of know what I'm talking about. If you know my life story, you know that those are impressive lifts because I never focused on the Olympic lifts very much because I was a discus thrower and Highland Gamer and an American football player. When most people try to go flat-footed, they end up on their toes and they lose a lot of lifts out front. I've had long conversations about a team I used to be affiliated with, and they were famous for always losing lifts down the front. And then when a few of the guys moved to the heels only, that got fixed. So I don't want to get into a he said, she said fight or anything, but maybe I'm missing something. No, I didn't miss anything. This is just people online talking, which isn't the most valuable thing in the world. I feel that this issue is not of merely minor importance, in special since this seems to have a major impact on the first pull, where the majority of misses occur anyway. However, could it be that you are focused on improving the explosive hinge movement for all sorts of athletes instead of having the Olympic lifter in mind? No, I teach the heels only with Olympic lifting, for Olympic lifters and for throwers and football players. It's weird. I mean, I've had people from all over the world watch me coach the Olympic lifts. You walk in and there's a room of 35 14-year-old girls all doing squat snatches and squat cleans, and people ask, how do you do that? And I literally show them my few steps in doing that, and then they argue with me after they ask me how to do it. I can only use things that work and work fast. So there you go. I hope that was helpful. Thank you. We have a question from Stephen. Unfortunately, due to COVID, The only 24 kettlebell I could get my hands on when I started was one with a very wide handle. And he says 10 inches, which really does seem like a pretty wide handle for a kettlebell. I was happy to soldier on with it even when it brushes my legs during kettlebell swings, or I have to make a wider stance than the one that feels optimal. Logically, it doesn't seem to be an issue to have a wider stance when double kettlebell exercises are a thing. However, I'm looking forward to doing a challenge in the next few weeks. Maybe 300 swings a day, or maybe the 10,000 swing challenge. My question, do you think I cause myself any issues with such high reps with a slightly wider stance? Well, I mean, if it's a real hassle, you could just turn the handle and then hold it like a fire hose. I would go opposite on sets. I mean, if it's really, I mean, I know what 10 inches is, but I just can't see it being that huge of a difference. But since you did already mention it, it is already sliding in. I don't think having a wider stance in the hinge is that big a deal. I worry less about where the feet are than I do. I worry most about where the knees, what the knees are doing. Excessive knee work is can be a problem in kettlebell swings, and I talk about that a lot, that squatty hinge thing. But give it a go, and if you do feel anything like the adductors, anything are starting to bark at you, then really go to Plan B. Another thing you could do is we do this at the certs, is you take a towel. So, and then you would insert it. So you would take a towel and then you'd put it inside and hold it. The only problem is if you have if you don't have a crisp snap and pull, hinge, plank. If it's not crisp, it will swing up and hit you in the butt, which you'll survive. Okay. So there's a couple ideas. You could do the fire hose technique. You could do the towels close, the towel around the handle and hold it close like this. Or you can just try the wider leg and hope for the best. Those are three options, and I think you need to experiment with all of them first, okay? And then I'd love to see the video, if you don't mind, with the wider thing, just to see if maybe it's something, there's even simpler solution, okay? Thank you. We have a question from Rodney. Wait, Rodnick. I'm sorry, Rodnick. I was wondering if I could get some tips on training college basketball players. Yeah, here's a tip. Go find another job. Oops, I said it out loud. Any information that you could provide would be greatly appreciated. Well, Rodnick, I find college basketball players difficult to work with most of the time. I've worked with the NBA. I've worked with professional basketball players. I find them difficult to work with. There, I said it out loud. I guess the most important thing is you're going to have to be all about movement. Now, one thing, and I discovered this spotting a 7'4" American basketball player. Once you spot someone that tall squatting, it suddenly, all the stuff about levers makes so much more sense. So what you're going to find when they do things like hinge and squat, and press actually too, is that their levers are so long, load changes remarkably. I found that one-armed overhead press, one-arm bench press actually worked pretty good to get them in a one-arm rows. And that helped to overcome some of the issues with leverage, because you'll see it when you'll see what I'm talking about when you do it. But when it came to the hinge and the squat, you really need to say, okay, load is very unimportant for a while with these really tall, long, big lever guys. And the most important thing is beautiful movement, calisthenics. You just have to get used to the idea that they're very tall. So you might even want to think about training them more like an elderly population the first few days. Suspension trainer squats, hinge work that is very obviously I think the hip thrust, if you can get it to work, The Bulgarian goat bag swing, rack deadlifts are money in the hinge family. Those three are great. You might never do anything from the floor because they're not the bar is not built for someone that tall. I do struggle with the attitude of basketball players, and it's just and maybe it's just my experiences, but there is a bit of they all think they're fighter pilots, and they're not. So good luck to you. I hope that helps a little bit. Focus on movements, worry about load much later. We have a question from Rusty. Just finished your book, Can You Go? Really enjoyed the read and had a question about two of the programs in the back. As a 36-year-old at 5'9", 180 and around 15% body fat, 5'9", 180 and 15% body fat, with around 15 years of training, I find myself wanting to bounce around a bit with training. How unusual that is, Rusty. Okay, that's called sarcasm. I used to be a fairly Olympic lifting biased, but I have recently begun rucking and adding different modes of training, including kettlebells. I also train 3 times per week in BJJ. I was wondering about your thoughts on completing your throwers program, maybe 2 cycles or 8 weeks, followed by the 6-week climb every mountain with the sprint day taken out and replaced with the hard day on the mats. Would the 2 go well in combination together for long-term training? Yeah, my throwers programs, and this comes as no surprise to anyone, are built for throwers, and the mountain climbing program, which by the way worked out to be much better for normal people than I ever thought, is just a good solid program. At Dan John University, we did change it to be an appropriate program for without the peak week and just working out. Yeah, I think the combination would be fine. So you're 36, you're 5'9", 180, you do this martial art 3 days a week, and you want to do a 6-day, 7-day a week training program. I just that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time. I think you can do it. I certainly have done some long stuff in my life. I like the idea of mixing a small explosive training, couple month training block with a more traditional, rucking, climbing kind of thing. I think there's value to it. I'm always a fan of mixing, so like easy strength for 2 months and then basic bodybuilding for 2 months, Olympic lifting for 2 months, and then bodybuilding for 2 months. I always think there's a value to that. And I think you're going down that same road. Now, I don't have an experience with what you're suggesting. I could only say that, it's going to be an experimental one. And well, good luck to you, okay? Thank you. We have a question from Brittany. Hello, Brittany. I'm 36 years old, 5'3", and weigh 123 pounds. Good for you. As an industrial firefighter, it's mega important for me to be strong. My full gear weighs around 80 pounds, and I'm an avid rock climber. Again, strength is absolutely essential, but having less size is optimal. I know there's a hierarchy of important things here with life, career, acceptance, and rational human behaviors, and there's more to mass than just a program. But in a vacuum, which Dan John University program best suits someone who wants to be as strong as humanly possible without gaining size? Easy strength. Yeah, easy strength is your answer. You don't need to sign up for the program. I'm sure the people who work with me are very pleased. But really, it's going to be a vertical push, a vertical pull, maybe the rack deadlift, some swings, and then a farmer walk. Thank you very much. Some swings, and then ab wheel, something like that. It doesn't have to be very complicated at all. You probably want to do the rule of 10, which is, of course, workouts will be like 3 sets of 3, 5 sets of 2. I got to tell you, 5 sets of 2 is an amazing workout for getting strong. though it takes long. It takes a little bit longer than some. 3 sets of 3 in the vertical press, vertical pull, and maybe a hinge, a deadlift, a rack deadlift variation. I don't know how long it would take you to get through those workouts, but I mean, if that whole workout takes more than half an hour, I'd be surprised. And that'll just free you up for tons of time to do the rock climbing, which is going to be very helpful. And then you're getting your rucking as a firefighter, and you're getting your extra strength work, rock climbing, and then we're just going to supplement with it. You don't really need to do much else. That's a good question. It's nice when somebody has such clarity of their needs. Easy strength, easy strength, easy strength. Okay, Brittany? And if I lost you anywhere, ping me back an email and I'll help you out. Ronan has a question. I purchased an Axel thick bar and enough plates to make up to 100K midway through last year. I have now reached the point where I can deadlift 100K for sets of 10 with the thick bar. I am now a bit of a loss as to where to progress from here with my deadlift training. And you see the problem with training the deadlift with only 100K. Pretty soon it's too late. Should I start doing clean pulls or cleans as my main pull? Maybe the good morning my main hinge. Difficult as I have no rack. Oh boy, that's the problem with having a thick bar, isn't it? I cannot buy more plates as there's a shortage of non-price gouge gym equipment in Ireland right now. Well, since you're Irish, I got to help you. Now, if your name was Rowan in the old language, that's seal, S-E-A-L, seal, art kind of seal. So I'm going to help you. I like the idea of attempting to do clean pulls. I wouldn't do cleans with a thick rack because the bar's not going to rotate unless, I don't. Most axle bars I've used, thick bars I've used, don't rotate. And that's something you don't want to mess with. But yeah, doing some accelerations, I would play around with this first. Now, I know you don't have a rack, but if you could put anything on a box, so get the weight up to maybe 1 inch above your knees and try some high pulls up there. Now, the second you go to pop the lift, that grip's going to pop off too. But with just 100K, it would be fun to see you strive for that. I hope you're using the C grip. You don't really give me a lot of options when you talk about doing the good morning somewhere in here. I can't seem to find it right now. Oh, there it is. Oh no. The good morning is your main hinge. Not having a rack and having to get the barbell, a thick bar back on your back. I mean, maybe you can go light and do some high reps. Really push your butt back. Think more butt back. Don't think down at all. That might work, but I don't know if we have the equipment. Try those clean high pulls. I like the idea. Not cleans, clean high pulls. Thank you, Ron. And I hope to see you soon on my trips to Ireland. Well, there you go, folks. Wow, podcast number 90 in the books. Hard to believe. Remember, if you have questions, email me at podcast@danjohnuniversity.com, and I'll do my best to answer each and every one. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.